Starting off with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, they're coming off of a dominant win. We had our friend and multimedia journalist over in the Corpus Christi area, Ryan Hopper, join us for the Commanders side last week. And we all kind of agreed that this was going to be a close game, a shootout, as you will. And it was a shootout, but seemed like the seemed like Washington didn't really shoot back at times.
Especially in the second half. I mean, that first score they had, I can't say I didn't see it coming, especially that's after that safety. And I was like, okay, they got some fight in them today. Might as well. Before we published that episode, like literally right after I published that clip, they ruled Deebo Samuel out.
Tough.
So now we looked like fools last week, somewhat thinking that it was gonna be closer than it ended up being. But it was still like good analysis that we had last week. We didn't anticipate that Debo was going to be, that beat up in which that he would not compete alongside Jaden Daniels. So they didn't have their top receivers, and they didn't start off too shaky, to be honest with you. Jaden Daniels was still firing in all cylinders. Again, Cowboys defense, we've been through this all season long.
Hmm.
But what can you say about this defensive effort today? I thought that it was, or in that game, I thought it was much better. And you can only play what's in front of you. You can only play what's in front of you. I get they didn't have their guys, but with what they had to face, they did great in man defense, which is a big variant from what they've done the whole year of the zone. Matt Eberflus had them play much more man, even when Trayvon Diggs was off the field too, even more. And I've heard that it's not exactly been the best thing that a lot of these players or Trayvon Diggs has liked since being on the sideline, and they have a little bit of beef, him and Eberflus. But the defense played all right, and you saw DeRon Bland get another pick six, which that was awesome.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have beef with Trayvon Diggs right now. But yeah, I like that you brought up the man, the extreme change in the defensive adjustments that Matt Eberflus put into this game. You could see a little bit of the difference. Of course, this Cowboys team, this defense is as good as they get with turnovers. They need those turnovers, and once they get those, I mean, the Ron Bland pick six kind of just put the game to bed. But I mean, it's just incredible to watch this offense. I mean, witnessing this offense right now is just incredible. Is this the best offense under Dak, do you think? Or does that still go to like 2018 or that 2021, 2023? Where does this rank among all the teams?
Yeah, I feel like they're just so like efficient. It might be creeping up there to the 2020, should I say 2022? Was that technically a better offense? The best we've
I
seen in
think
our
so,
lives?
maybe. I think of 2021 with Amari Cooper,
That's
Ceedee
probably the better
Lamb,
one. That's
Michael
probably the best
Gallup.
one. Just
Um,
efficient weapons everywhere. This is creeping up there. And, we anticipate that Javonte Williams would look a little bit better than he did against the Panthers, and he ended up doing that. I did not think that the run offense for Washington would be as weak as it was. Props to that front seven of Dallas. They found a way to hold, Bill Krosky-Merritt to only 13 carries for 33 yards, but again, they had to pass more as they started to have that gap
mhm.
widen in the score. But yeah,
Yeah.
and this offense, man, it's creeping up there. George Pickens, who was filling in for CD quite well these past few weeks since he was out, now with your actual number one all-pro receiver back, you can't cover all of these guys, man. You just cannot do it. And when you have Jalen Tolbert and Cavante Turpin there to complement, this offense is just special to watch. I love watching. I feel like it's, almost just free real estate sometimes when they're on the field. So when you have a guy like Javonte Williams who can get on the ground, a great run offense, sets up a great pass offense, and you saw it again with Dak putting up MVP numbers, no turnovers.
Yeah, and I would have to say that this has to be, I mean, maybe it's recency bias, but right now I would say that this is the most dangerous offense that Dak Prescott has had.
It's
George
beautiful.
Pickens is really, really matching up to the hype that they were kind of expecting to get when they traded for him. And you talk about the other weapons right now. I mean, Jalen Tolbert has made some pretty crazy plays to help Dak out. Dak, I think about the play in overtime against Green Bay, that incredible sideline catch under, below the 5 yard line next to the end zone for Tolbert. And Turpin, of course, has made his plays. Ryan Flournoy had his own game. These games are just incredible, and we used to not really get that amount of help from the supporting wide receivers. Now, maybe I kind of backtrack a little bit. So Cedric Wilson was a huge, huge. He was great for
Our
a
second
fourth string.
quarterback. Yeah.
But I, you just imagine what would happen if the Cowboys actually had, Jonathan Mingo played decent, By the way, traded a fourth round pick for him. Just never forget that, by the way. Never
Yeah.
forget Jonathan Mingo was traded for a fourth round pick. Sorry to make this a little pessimistic.
Rush back, Mingo. Rush back. We'll be waiting for you, buddy.
But um I mean this offense is incredible. Now, a lot of this can really, really change my perspective coming up with this next week game against Denver. Considered one of the better defenses in the NFL. Um they just had a incredible, incredible comeback. One of the most unheard comebacks I've ever seen. It was 19-0 go into the fourth quarter. What'd they win? With 34 to 32 or something
They
like
won,
that?
let me see. It was
I think it
33 to
was
32. Yeah.
33 to 32. Incredible. And going into that fourth quarter though, it looked like they were, the Giants had them figured out. They go in, I mean, the Giants scored 32 points. Sorry. This defense is still considered really well. I mean, what do you think is you confident going into Denver? You think this offense can keep it up?
I was telling some people I knew around here that are Broncos fans where I'm at right now. And I feel like I'd be more afraid if they ended up, getting blown out by New York. But the fact they ended up winning for some reason has me feeling better. If they were a little angry after the way they lose at home, by the way, I hate to put it this way, but honoring, one of their fallen, greats in Demaryius Thomas, by the way, who was number 88,
Yep.
unfortunately passed away due to an issue, health issue at the age of 33. If they ended up, losing that game, just imagine how motivated they would be the following week to go against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, who knows? Maybe they're still motivated regardless because it's, one of the most popular brands and hated teams coming into their stadium, and they're motivated and well coached. Who knows if that would be the case still? But I feel like it'd be a little bit extra disappointing their fans in a game that meant so much to the organization. And I feel like this team will be fine. They'll hang in there just fine. The way this defense of Denver was hyped before the season, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel a little underwhelmed in what I've seen so far with them this year defensively. They played well against the Eagles. That's their biggest win of the year 2 weeks ago, like unquestionably. But so far, like the way they played against the Colts, who, mind you, are shocking the world right now, how they played against the Chargers, I'm just not that impressed by their defense as a whole this year. I think this offense of the Cowboys will do just fine. Just examining how New York and Jackson Dart, a rookie, and how he played against them, they'll be just fine. I'm not worried at all about this team offensively.
I mean, you do bring up a good point. I do want to just point out that this team is currently 4-0 at home.
Hmm.
And they do have, I mean, their offense in these games at home. The Giants game is such a big outlier to the rest of
Yeah.
the games that they've had at home. The rest of the other games at home have been extremely low scoring. You talk about the season opener against the Titans. Also, another thing is that these games that they've played at home have not been against any really good playoff teams.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting how this goes, especially coming off of a week like that Giants game, an anomaly, as you will, with the New York Giants game. So I don't know too entirely how this can work out. That offense, though, in that fourth quarter, after not having a single sliver of hope or any single sliver of motion, really, is just came out and Bo Nix had his best game of the season in one quarter. So I mean, it's going to be really interesting. This offense is interesting for Denver. It's also interesting though. I know I've been saying that word a lot. The Maxx Crosby rumors for the Dallas Cowboys. Um, Now we do know that the Raiders have came out and said that they are not shopping Maxx Crosby, but we also know that the Cowboys have contacted Vegas about the defensive end. Just quick, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, I love it if you could turn Micah Parsons into Kenny Clark, a first round pick, and eventually, what could be Maxx Crosby in the very end of this whole thing, I think that would unquestionably be a win for this front office. We've seen this our whole lives, though. We've seen the rumors, the Cowboys looking to get, the Cowboys contact, and nothing ends up happening. And I hate to be this guy. I feel like it's going to end up the same way since you just already mentioned that the Raiders are looking to shop him. But it'd be awesome to have it just on, the pass rush for this team has just been just so poor. There are some plays where Jaden Daniels was just sitting there all day, nobody even close to him. And granted, there were some plays that they came after him and they put him down, but I think that this pass rush, the lack of pass rush, I guess you should say, has a lot of players putting up stats where in the following weeks they're back to earth. Case in point, Bryce Young, right? You saw him, Bryce Young look like possibly most improved kind of player in that week against the Cowboys, and the following week against the Jets looks all right, and that's just the story of this
Mhm.
Cowboys defense this year. They have guys looking way better, and they have the media buying into all the hype. You saw with Caleb Williams, who's played all right this year with a new quarterback, but he was putting up insane stats against this Cowboys defense. In the following weeks, against the Raiders, like the week after, it was all right. So I think this
Yeah.
defense needs a pass rush. A guy like Maxx Crosby would be awful, like insanely better than what we have right now. And I don't know if it'll happen, but if it would happen, I think it would be an awesome move for this Cowboys team.
Yeah, I mean, any player could just help this team right now on
Hey,
defense.
Overshown, DeMarvin Overshown's getting healthy. He's practicing right
Overshown.
now. He'll be a big
I
help.
just I can't get excited until I see him actually on the field yet. I just know that that's with the history, the multiple, what it was the torn ACL, correct? That's what he's recovering
Yep.
from. He
Yep.
already had a torn meniscus or something like that too. He's
Poor
had
guy, man.
he's had terrible injuries, and that's just something that the Cowboys linebackers have always struggled out. Again, just hate to do it. Hopefully, he won't be another Jalen Smith, but right now, have to be, I just have to see him on the field before I get confident and happy that he is back. Um, but I mean, initial thoughts of this Maxx Crosby, rumors was that it's just like, well, if you knew this defense was, you just look like you look like a dumbass right now, Jerry, for trading a pass rush defensive end before the season started, and now you're not even halfway through the season, and you're already begging basically to get another defensive end who's a pass rusher. But reading through Twitter/X, which usually I wouldn't recommend, but it did make me a little bit. It made me feel a little bit better about this trade because you talk about how Maxx Crosby set the market. He had the contract already set. He has that financial stability under his contract, unlike Micah Parsons. You also add Kenny Clark, who's been pretty serviceable so far this season for the Cowboys. And I do think that that first round pick that you get from Green Bay will probably be headed to Vegas. Maybe. So maybe it's just Maxx Crosby and Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons, and then you also allow that financial stability to help you re-sign George Pickens. I think that that is a decent trade for the Cowboys, much better than what it looked like on day one when we originally traded Micah. And I do want to say that Vegas, we always talk about how the Cowboys never, they're all bark, no bite. They never do anything big. But the one time that I can remember where they did do something pretty big was the Amari Cooper trade with Vegas, at the time Oakland, but same ownership, I believe.
Came
And
out of
so
nowhere.
I
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, there is a chance. They've worked together before. So
Hey, who knows?
who knows?
It'll
Who
be
knows?
cool. I would love it. I'd entertain it.